Coming up today here on the Raiders Report, I got some important Raiders news before training camp that the nation needs to see. I'm Mitchell Renz. It's good to be back from my honeymoon. But you know what? I got two deals on today's show. My first deal that I'm going to be breaking down before I get into that important news is if we get to 196,000 subs by Thursday, August 7th, I'm going to be live for the Raiders-Seahawks first preseason game. We're going to give away an Ashton Genty jersey. The more subs we get, the more that this family can grow. We need 675 more subs, and I'll give away a jersey. Now, here's the thing. It's going to be a late game, so I'm going to need you guys to be able to pull up, be ready to rock and roll. It's going to be fun to see Pete Carroll, Geno Smith, potentially up against their old team, Seattle. This game's at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. If you want to tune in and be a part of the #1 largest watch party for this game, make sure you're subscribed to the Raiders Report. So the important news that I have to bring up today, unfortunately, is news that I don't know if a lot of people remember. I don't know if many people want to bring it up again. But my job here as a Raiders Report host to keep the nation up to date. And I'm sorry, but this is something that every single person that rocks with the silver and black needs to know for today and needs to know going into tomorrow. Charles Snowden has a court hearing tomorrow, July 22nd, because he was arrested on December 10th, 2024 for a DUI. His blood alcohol level was twice the legal limit. Now, I'm not going to go into all of the ins and outs around this Charles Snowden situation that happened back on December 10th. If you want to go check it out, there's a video on the Raiders Report channel with more in-depth analysis on it. To me, I'm just talking about the now, and the now is this. Because this court case is happening, this is going to impact this team, and it is an important thing to know because training camp is tomorrow. Now, when this initially happened, the Raiders released this statement on Snowden. The Raiders are aware of the incident involving Charles Snowden and have been in contact with the NFL and local authorities. The club will not comment further as this is a legal matter, and it is a legal matter. And when you talk about legal matters, the potential of a suspension has to be brought up. So to me, I'm going to be breaking down why this is important to Raiders fans right now, and right now especially, because we are going to be facing a potential suspension. And according to ESPN, in an article that they released just a few days ago, in the NFL, a first-time DUI offense generally results in a 3-game suspension, according to the league's substance abuse policy, unless there are aggravating circumstances. Now, the reason why I'm bringing up Jordan Addison is because Jordan Addison is also dealing with a, we'll call it similar situation to what Snowden is dealing with, and Adam Schefter also chimed in, if convicted, Vikings wide receiver Jordan Addison could be facing a baseline 3-game suspension. Because this is the first incident for Charles Snowden, I think that the 3-game suspension is going to be something that the NFL is going to be looking at. And if we're going to be without one of the players that I believe could potentially make this roster, that is an important news for Raiders fans out there. Let's go to another reason why it's important. I think it's a good reminder before training camp that when you're an NFL player, especially a Las Vegas Raider, and everything that has happened from the Henry Ruggs incident, and there's been other incidents way after the Ruggs incident. The Josh Jacobs driving. I know that didn't involve DUI or alcohol, but, you got a Roderick Teamer incident. You had another one with Charles Snowden obviously popping up. Nate Hobbs had an incident. My point is, I think this is a good reminder that for all the Raiders coaches out there, that they got to sit down with these players and say, hey, we got to hold ourselves to a higher standard. We got to hold ourselves to the Al Davis standard. And even though we're excited to get these guys back, the fact that Charles Snowden is potentially going to be missing that first day of practice when the guys would originally show up to training camp because he's got a court case. That is not what the expectation is. To me, the focus needs to be on football, and we got to be able to carry ourselves on and off the field. So I do think that this is a unfortunate, friendly reminder for Raiders players that you got to be good human beings off the field, and you got to set that standard. Let's go to another reason here. A roster spot could open up. I don't know if he ends up getting suspended, what that's going to mean exactly for Pete Carroll and John Spytek, but this is a brand-new regime. And I think when you consider a brand-new regime for a player that was a roster bubble candidate last season, barely made the squad, somebody that wasn't really drafted, that's not somebody that when something like this happens, you go, oh, we don't have to worry about it. So we know right now, because the Raiders moved on from Carter Bradley last week, there's already an open roster spot. And maybe the Raiders, keep that spot open. Maybe they don't. But if the Raiders want to move on from Charles Snowden, he is no doubt a roster bubble candidate as it stands right now. So I want to know from everybody that tuned into today's show, this is going to be the pinned comment. Give me a yes. Give me a no. Will Charles Snowden be on the Raiders' 53-man roster? And I know it's a tough question, but that's kind of the point of this show. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but if you were making a decision right now, give me a yes, give me a no. My answer is going to be coming up right here after this YouTube ad break. Despite there being a potential 3-game suspension, I am a believer if the Raiders wanted to move on from Charles Snowden, they would have done it already. Because he is still on this roster, I would imagine that he has talked to this organization. I believe that this organization is expecting probably a 3-game suspension. But with all that being said, I do believe that Snowden will end up making the roster. So coming up here next on the show, I'm just going to illustrate some more reasons why I could see Pete Carroll, Patrick Graham, Rob Leonard all sitting down in a room going, this is an unfortunate situation. And this is not really the way that we want the outside NFL world to look at this brand new regime, this brand new Raiders team that we're trying to create. But if we feel like Charles Snowden can be a good player on our roster, we're going to keep him around. And coming up here on this show, I'm going to tell you why I still think that he ends up making the roster. I told you today I got a few deals for you. The first deal, reminder, if we get to 196,000 subs, I'm giving away an Ashton Jeanty jersey. If you're like, dude, that's 17 days away, I want a jersey today. Well, I don't know if y'all know this, but Ashton Jeanty jerseys are on sale. And I'll be real, first-round picks like this, jerseys don't really go on sale. I've been doing this for a long time. You can actually save $26 today if you go to chatsports.com/Jeanty. I'm going to say it again, chatsports.com/Jeanty. That link's down in the comments. It's going to be down in the description of today's show. If you've been sitting around waiting to get an Ashton Jeanty jersey, I think today's kind of the perfect opportunity to do it. You're going to be able to save $26. I don't know about you. If I could save $26, shit, I'm not afraid to do it. Let's go into the next part here of the show of why I think Snowden does end up making this roster. He is a very well-respected player in that locker room, and he was somebody that last season, in the offseason, during May, June, July, hell, even in the final preseason games, Raider Nation was rooting for him to make the roster. He works his freaking tail off. He goes by the compete mindset that every day he's going to show up, he's going to give you 110%. I've talked to a few of the Raiders players on the defensive line, like Max Crosby, Tyree Wilson. I'm not saying I've talked to them recently. Again, I'm just coming back from my honeymoon. But from my past conversations with those two players especially, they've had nothing but glowing remarks for Charles Snowden. And I know that the coaching staff also knows that he is a very well-respected player and brings that compete mindset and continues to bring that compete mindset this entire offseason. The other reasons here are he had a solid 2024 season. Don't get me wrong. Every time I think of the 2024 season, I wish I could quickly just erase it, kind of like the Men in Black where they just flash that thing and it's gone. And that's how I would like to remember the 2024 season. But there were some good parts of it. And Charles Snowden was absolutely positively one of the good parts of this team. And, we lost a lot of players due to injuries. And Snowden stepped up in 405 snaps played, an overall PFF grade of 60.5. He's a longer, lanky athlete, 6'7", 245-pound, a UDFA, 39 tackles. That was a career high for him. If you would have told me that Snowden would play 400 snaps and get close to 40 tackles at the beginning of last year, probably would have said a lot of injuries were involved. But at the exact same time, he went out there and he showed that he could at least be a reliable player on a team that needed as many reliable players as humanly possible. Let's go to the other reasons here of why I think Snowden makes the roster. The defensive line depth. And I don't want to just talk about this from an edge rusher standpoint, but we know what we have in Max Crosby. But Max has also been dealing with injuries the past few seasons. Malcolm Kuntz missed the entire season last year due to an ACL. Tyree Wilson has been bulking up based on some of the people that I've been talking to in terms of he might be trying to get moved to the inside a little bit more because I think he's a better defensive tackle than he is a defensive end. But no matter what, we know the Raiders have been looking at these tweeners. And I know there's been some encouraging Christian Wilkins injury news. I saw that there was a picture posted on Instagram. I believe it was Alex Bachman's Instagram story of Wilkins at the Raiders facility without a boot on. I don't know about you. That put a giant smile on my face, and hell, it made me too excited, where I know you guys can't tell how excited I am, but it's the truth. That's how excited I was to see Wilkins out of that boot. But because of the defensive line and because of the question marks around some of our star players on that line, we need all the defensive line depth that we can get. And Charles Snowden is a reliable player, and because of that, I think that that's going to be one of the reasons why he ends up making the roster. Before I get into the final reason here, if you do not know, the live shows that we have this week on the Raiders Report, let me get a quick sip of water. The live shows we have this week on the Raiders Report are as followed, and we will be live at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific, all 3 of these days. We got a Madden live sim up against the Giants today. Our normal Raiders Report live show will be tomorrow, and then the final Madden game of the year, Thursday. Chat Sports, we are off on Friday. Again, we are in kind of ramping up to get ready to go for our preseason schedule, which, I don't know if y'all know this, I'm actually going to be live on our main Chat Sports channel for the Hall of Fame game, so be tuned in, ready to watch that. But if you don't know what our Madden playoff picture is looking like, man, I hope that you tune in later on today, and I hope that you tune in Thursday, because the Raiders right now are in the playoff hunt with actually, crazy enough, a chance to win the AFC West. Now, I know that these records are just Madden, but you know what? When it's the offseason, May, June, and July, I just need content, and I need to be able to hang out with Raiders fans. And I say that because I miss talking about Raiders football. So I know a lot of people have been watching the season all along. So if you've been hanging out with us the entire season, I want you to type Madden down below if you've been watching our season. I'm going to be giving some special shout-outs this week on the Raiders Report. Let's go to the final reason here of why I think he ends up making the roster. Snowden is good against the run. And it's, I would say, is probably best attribute as a defensive lineman at this point. He's not somebody that's overly athletic, somebody that's not going to get you a bunch of sacks, but somebody that I think has done a really good job of at least setting the edge, doing exactly what he's being told, and sticking to his assignment. Last season, he had a 72.1 run defense grade. That was 32nd best in the NFL out of 211 edge rushers. That's pretty damn good. Only 3 missed tackles last season. Missed tackles were something that the Raiders dealt with, and it made me want to pull my freaking hair out. At 7.7% missed tackle rate, one of the better numbers in the NFL for a player that played 400 snaps. Also, I think good defensive lines, and when you have a good defensive coach like a Rob Leonard, you need good complement pieces, right? And for Malcolm Kuntz, somebody who's really good at getting after the quarterback, Tyree Wilson, who's a good little tweener, I think when you have somebody that's like a Charles Snowden that can kind of do both of those things, he doesn't rush the passer nearly as well as Malcolm, and he doesn't defend the run, I think, as well as Tyree Wilson. But Charles Snowden is a great complement piece to those two players there whenever they need a break, and also when Max Crosby needs that rare breather. So in conclusion here, Charles Snowden's court date, it's tomorrow, July 22nd, and he could be facing a 3-game suspension. Whether we get that information tomorrow or not, it's the NFL, it's the legal situation. I'm not going to try to look into a crystal ball and predict that. But what I know is this: Raiders fans should be checking up on those updates. Tomorrow's the first day that veterans report to training camp, and Charles Snowden has a court date because of it. Despite that potential suspension, though, I do believe that Snowden ends up making this roster.